So I'm sure by now you guys have probably seen the most recent gameplay trailer for Jedi Survivor. It is actually the final trailer for the game, with the game only being a few weeks away now. And today we're going to be going through everything that you guys may have missed in that trailer. Now, I am a little bit slow. I know it was obviously Easter over the weekend and I spent pretty much a 4-day weekend at my girlfriend's house, so I didn't actually have access to my PC or anything to make this video, but I've watched the trailer a few times and I just couldn't help myself to actually finally get around to it. So apologies for the delay in getting this out, but in saying that, there's actually a few things that I've picked up just today that I probably wouldn't have actually noticed if I had to put this video out there earlier. So without wasting any time, let's get stuck right into it. If you guys are new to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button, as there is plenty more Survivor content on the way. But let's get stuck into all of the juicy details. Now, the first scene that we see in the trailer, there seems to be some sort of dust storm that is happening on, obviously, a dusty planet. Now, the next shot that we see just after this, I'm going to assume is the same planet, and this is a bit of a hot take. I don't know if I'm the only one thinking this or if everyone else is thinking it too. I'm not really sure, but I honestly think this is Jeddah. Now, I know it's very easy for especially Star Wars fans. We see a sand planet, and generally it's actually Tatooine. Everyone always goes, oh, it's got sand, it's got to be Tatooine. It's kind of easy to do the same thing with Jeddah. If you see a sandy, sort of rocky looking planet, it's pretty easy to just say, oh my god, it's Jeddah, when it could literally be like 100 different planets, who knows. But there are a few reasons that I do think this is Jeddah. Now, this could be a tinfoil hat theory, but number one, obviously it just looks like it, and we do see that sort of temple thing in the background that is very reminiscent of something you would find on Jeddah. Obviously, we know Jeddah is a very like ancient and almost like religious planet where it was very in tune with the Force. There's all the kyber crystals there. There was a lot of stuff related to the Jedi there, and so the fact that it looks the same, as well as the fact that there's like this big sort of temple structure, that definitely could lead to it being Jeddah. Now, the other reason is that obviously Saw Gerrera was in the first game. Now, it doesn't confirm that he's going to be in this game, but we know that Cal and Saw are obviously linked, and I have always thought there's probably every chance that he goes and meets up again with Saw. And just where was Saw during this rough time period in Star Wars? He was on Jeddah. At least we know that he is there. Eventually, the actual time frames we don't really know, because Saw seemed to be pretty much everywhere at any given point in Star Wars and its timeline. But we know Cal and Saw are linked. We know that Saw was on Jeddah for a long period of time, presumably. So I do think there is a good chance that this could be Jeddah. Now, I'm going to leave that with you guys. I could go on about that for ages, but at the end of the day, it is just a stab in the dark, so we will just have to wait and see. Now, the next thing that I noticed here is this clip with the scout troopers and Cal. This actually looks like it could be on Coruscant. Now, initially, for some reason, I thought this was like inside of like a cruiser, potentially a Venator or some sort of separatist ship or something like that. But then I actually just noticed that, yeah, it looks more like Coruscant than that. So that one's probably fairly obvious to a lot of you guys, but to me, the first few times I watched this, it just looks kind of like it's inside. So I do think this is potentially from pretty early on in the game, where we kind of know that Cal is potentially going to be on Coruscant and potentially escaping as well, which I'll get to a little bit in just a second as well. Now, something else I noticed in the background of the like speeder chase here is that it looks like that is actually Bode on another speeder there. So I kind of assumed this was just Cal and only stormtroopers that were all just chasing him, but it does look like Bode is actually with him. And again, this could be on that same planet that I just said could potentially be Jeddah. It could also be on Kobo, because Kobo is a very dusty, sort of sandy type planet in a lot of areas too. But this one definitely looks more like that Jeddah planet, whether it is or not, as well as just the fact that there are TIE fighters in the background too, because those same TIE fighters are in the same shot where I initially mentioned Jeddah. Now, in this next shot that we've also seen a little bit earlier, I think this was in another promo that they did, Cal looks like he's on some sort of ship going over Coruscant. But what I think is actually the case here is I think Cal has actually been potentially captured, because the next shot that we see is this same ship, I assume it's the same ship, flying towards what is very clearly an Imperial building there. But when I say Imperial building, I'm pretty sure that is the Jedi Temple. I could be wrong, because there's a lot of buildings on Coruscant that kind of look pretty similar, but to me that is absolutely the Jedi Temple, and you can see it's got Imperial banners all over it. So I'm going to assume that Cal has actually been captured, and whatever's going on inside the Jedi Temple now, we don't really know what that is, at least I don't anyway. There is a good chance that the game kind of actually starts off with Cal being captured, and you have to like break out of the what is, I guess, the old Jedi Temple, because it's obviously not the Jedi Temple anymore. Now, we see a shot here from Kobo with Cal on this sort of like droid sentry looking thing. And as you can see, this droid is actually holding that like key thing that we see multiple times throughout multiple of the different trailers and gameplay. This seems to be a key that sort of gets Cal and I guess the Grey Jedi, because he has it at 1.2, into like all of the Jedi temples and stuff. So you can see there that the droid actually initially has this, I'm assuming before Cal gets it, or potentially Cal gives it to the droid, I'm not really sure. But I thought that was worth mentioning as well. Now, something else worth noting, and this is probably fairly obvious because it does stand out literally like a shining light. But behind the Rancor there, you can see this blue like shiny thing. That is actually a collectible item within the game. This was a part of the playtest that we were able to actually get our hands on during the early preview in LA, and like I said, I did fight the Rancor. I actually luckily beat it. It only took me on the 3rd attempt actually, even though it was very, very difficult. I actually just lucked out, but I did kill the Rancor and I did get that collectible behind it. Now, I can't unfortunately remember what it was because I was too gassed about actually killing the Rancor, and a few of the devs were kind of getting around me, and some of the boys sitting next to me, Twisted and Aussie Jedi, and a few other guys were all around and were kind of all talking about what had happened. So I can't remember what that is, but that is a pretty like decent collectible behind the Rancor, and I absolutely cannot recommend enough. If you've come across the Rancor in this game, definitely fight it, because not only is it a cool boss fight, but that is a solid collectible behind it too. Now, something else, and shout out to Ben Solo in my Discord server, one of my more loyal subscribers around the channel. He's been around for a very long time. He actually mentioned in the Discord, this looks like one of the Trident class assault ships that we see in the Clone Wars. We actually saw them in Battlefront 2 as well, attacking Kamino. And funnily enough, a little Easter egg for you guys, these are actually in the intro for my channel. Obviously, we see here Kamino. I actually filmed this using like a cinematic tool within Battlefront 2, and so you can see these in the background, which is a pretty cool touch, because that is almost like a little cool connection between where my channel started and something that looks like it's going to be in this game. So it kind of looks like they're reconstructing that there. Merrin and Cal obviously using the Force and her magic. It looks like they're either reconstructing it or it has sort of come back to life and they're trying to kill it. I'm not really sure what they're doing, to be honest, but that does look like one of those Trident class assault ships. Now, something else I picked out is that in the background of the Ravis fight, it's kind of actually in the cinematic before the fight even happens, you can actually see some wall run sections there that looks like this is actually how you get to this place. Now, this could be another tinfoil hat theory. I kind of think this could be that big like mushroom looking thing that we've seen in some of the trailers. Now, whether that is this place or not, I'm not really sure, but I thought it was interesting. Either way, there are those little wall run things out there. To me, this actually looks kind of also like it's in space, so I don't know how we're going to be wall running out in space. Hell, maybe Cal gets a freaking astronaut suit or some shit. I'm not really sure, but I definitely thought that was interesting because it looks like we're going to have to make a fair old journey to get to this actual boss fight. And this is probably my most anticipated boss fight in the entire game, to be honest. Now, something else that I noticed, and this is arguably more interesting, is that there is one Bacta tank in the background over on the left there, you can see, and it looks like it's got a big character in there. I don't know whether this is just another Gendai like Ravis is, but like you can see Ravis is obviously massive and it actually looks taller than him, to be honest. But then also, if you look to the left of it, there is another Bacta tank, or I'm assuming these are Bacta tanks, or maybe like freezing chambers, I'm not really sure, but we'll just refer to them as a Bacta tank for now. And as you can see, the one on the left is actually smashed. So was Ravis potentially in that one? Has he actually broken out? Was he like I said, this could be some sort of freezing chamber. Was he actually in there frozen? I'm not really sure, but I thought that was pretty interesting. Whether it even has anything to do with the story or not, I'm not really sure, but it definitely could have some very, very big implications, I guess, for the story. Something else worth noting is that we can actually see Ravis like regenerating his arm during one of these scenes in this boss fight. You can see at certain sections he's got the regular like armored arm there with the pauldron and gauntlet on his arm there, and it looks pretty normal. But then there's another section where it's like that tentacle looking arm there. Now, if you guys didn't know, Gendai or Jedi, I never know which one it is, but this species that Ravis is, they can essentially regenerate their limbs. And so I dare say in this boss fight, we're going to cut off Ravis's arm and he's just going to be like, I don't care, I'm just going to grow it straight back. And we can actually see that happening there. So I thought that was pretty cool. This is no doubt going to be one of the toughest boss fights in the game, if not potentially the toughest boss fight, simply because this species is borderline indestructible. You pretty much have to stab them in the brain or like burn them alive, I'm fairly sure. Those are like the two only ways you can actually kill the Gendai. Now, the last thing I noticed is not even something that I can really point out. It's more of a question. Who the hell is this character? We see this guy with a double-bladed saber, and he's wearing like armor, and it can't be the Grey Jedi because he's got two arms. So I don't know who this is. I've actually got no idea who that would be, but it seems there's going to be more than one character in this game outside of Cal that has lightsabers, because we see obviously the Grey Jedi guy, he's obviously going to have a lightsaber. We actually see it in that initial trailer, the red saber. We then also see that character who kind of looks a little bit like this character because he's got like armor and a helmet and stuff, who had that yellow saber. And then now we see this character as well, and it's actually a double-bladed saber too. So I have no idea who this is. Please do correct me if I'm dumb, but I feel like this has just been brushed off by literally everyone. There is another character with a double-bladed saber that is not one of the characters we know of so far, at least not that I'm aware of. And so yeah, I thought it was worth pointing out. But also, if you guys know who this is or have any ideas, definitely let us know down in the comments as well. It makes me very excited to think that there's going to be so many other characters that have lightsabers that are going to be some really, really cool boss fights. It's also weird that the characters' lightsabers are blue. Like, if it was red or, you know, that yellow color or orange or something, then it's more likely to be a genuine, like, Sith or obviously evil character, but this character's lightsabers are blue, so I'm genuinely stumped on this one. I just thought that was worth bringing to your guys' attention. But anyway, that is pretty much all the stuff that I found in the final gameplay trailer for Jedi Survivor. If I missed anything, be sure to let me know down in the comments. Even leave timestamps, whether it's for this video or like a timestamp for the actual trailer, for example, like a minute 30 in the trailer, for example. If there's a bunch of stuff that I missed, I'll be sure to go back and make a second video, as this is obviously the final trailer for the game. So be sure to leave your thoughts down below. That is going to do it for this one though, guys. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more Survivor content. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you always.